Michigan is a very good football team. I do not watch them and see a football team that should be considered a favorite to win the national championship. Is it impossible for them to do it? Certainly not with this year's field. But as Alabama gets rolling and Georgia beats a top 10 team by 100, like it's just not the look that you want to see. And that said, I think Michigan is a very good football team. I think Michigan is certainly equipped on their home field in a rivalry game to beat Ohio State in similar fashion to the way that they had the last few years. I don't know if it's going to be by 30 or 25, but I think that they probably should be the favorite and might be laying a touchdown in that game. But I watched Ohio State play on Saturday. I watched Michigan play on Saturday. And if you're going into that game thinking that Michigan is just going to win without any second thought, like I think a few of us were in that mindset maybe 2 or 3 or 4 weeks ago.
I was probably there.
I think you have another thing coming. But if Michigan wins the national championship this year, David, they will have to beat Ohio State, Iowa, Oregon, and Georgia all in a row and not lose.
Florida State. Let's not
yeah, I'm just saying that's what the schedule will look like. I don't know if the teams. It could be Alabama and Georgia back to back for all we know.
Very well could be.
I don't know if this team is equipped from an athletic standpoint, and people go crazy. They're number 2. They are this, that. I hope that people watch college football enough to know what we're talking about. It's it's like we complicate this game. You know, we go all around the circle of this team is good or this team is great. Look at what Florida State's doing. Look what Washington's doing. But I think as the weeks, go on and you got Florida State in a sweater with Miami, you've got Washington losing to Utah at halftime. Like, I think we're starting to see the clearer picture, which is the best teams in the country start really revving up in November. And they're oozing with first round draft picks at every single position. And it's like, how are you possibly going to beat that? And at the end of the road, it's always Group A. If you haven't listened to the podcast in the past, know what Group A and Group B is. I gave Dave a list of teams. Group A is Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia, and Group B is the rest of the entire country. Who do you think is going to win a national championship? When I asked it 2 or 3 weeks ago, Group B was a popular discussion point. I don't know about a lot of rational fans who know how this game has gone and works. Not a lot of Group B results the last 15 years, or the last 7, at least in the playoff. And I don't know how faithful I would be or how much faith I would put into Group B after what we saw today. So one more thing about Michigan, then we're going to get to Penn State. JJ McCarthy, there is this notion that he could win the Heisman this year. And I don't want to belabor the point that we talked about 2 weeks ago about, can this man make a play or beat a team with his arm when they play in a dome in January somewhere or in the nice, beautiful Southern California air.
I don't want
Do you trust him? Do you trust the guy? I just like, I was looking through his stats today and I just don't know where it is. I don't know. They didn't. So I don't know. Michigan fans will tell you they don't have to throw it. But there were critical drives in this Penn State game. And it's like, did they run the ball? How many times in a row did they run the ball?
I've seen a number of different numbers. It was almost 30. I've seen over 30.
I saw 28. I don't know if that's true. I wasn't taking notes.
Basically,
they did not
any in the second half. The one time they threw it, they drew a PI flag, so it doesn't really count. So
I don't know why they don't put the ball in his hands. And you might say they don't have to. Maybe they didn't have to, but
they needed to today. The game was still relatively
second full year as a starter, and I don't know what game you would point to and say he beat them with their arms. So, I don't want to delve all the way deep back into the debate that we had about JJ McCarthy a few weeks ago, but this was the biggest game that Michigan has played this season. It's the most competent opponent that they'll play, flawed or not. And again, they rushed for 250 yards. He didn't have to make a single throw in that game that mattered. And I don't think that he was tested to the full. That doesn't mean he didn't make good runs. He moved the sticks on 4th down on that nice cut on the inside, and he had that nice 3rd and 13 first down gain in the third drive when Penn State had a lot of momentum and it was loud. But I cannot wait to see the moment in time where we hit a crossroads of J.J. McCarthy put this team on your back, because the entire discussion was about whether or not Michigan had the offensive skill talent around J.J. McCarthy at the tight end position and at the wide receiver positions to lift him up, or if he was going to do the lifting. Yeah. Did a wide receiver in the Michigan game make a single play today?
No.
They didn't have to, but who is that person? Who's Keon Coleman? Who's Marvin Harrison? Who are they? I just don't know who they are. And I think you're gonna find, and it's like, I hope you're a Michigan fan enjoying football conversation. But I have questions about this Michigan team that they'll certainly have an opportunity to prove us wrong. But I don't think that when I look down here and say, who's going to win the national championship this year, like the obvious answer is Michigan to anybody other than Michigan fans.